Today is a very important day. I want you to have people to go to our social media pages, also to join us right here online in Buffalo and in Atlanta, 96.5, of course, and 1080 AM. To our Atlanta audience, and I want to be respectful because we are on both places, want to give some history of what's going on. You're actually getting ready to hear a family conversation with some of the ground, I don't want to use the wrong word, some of the boots on the ground here in especially the African American community, who have been involved in everything from parking issues in areas to housing people who were if those of you in Atlanta, if you didn't hear about an incident here where white supremacists took 10 lives in our city. These are some, and I want to be clear at the top of this show, some of the leaders, because some of the greatest leaders are the ones you never hear from. And so in respect to everyone, I want to be clear of how these leaders of our community was invited. They were invited because I had contacts with them. And I don't have a endless contact list, but in the middle, late at night, one night after an incident here in Buffalo, in which people rose up to work together, things kind of took a turn in which kind of seemed like people started attacking each other. And in the middle of the night, I started making calls, and I called, first of all, let me give respect to the owner of the station, Sheila Brown, because I text Sheila Brown late at night, and I said, hey, we have an hour show. I think we need 2 hours just this week to talk to people who are boots on the ground and to have a real conversation. Sheila, within 4 minutes, responded and said yes. And I want to thank our producer, Mark. Mark made sure everything came together, and Rayshawn then reached out to India, Walton. And the reason I reached out to India, for those of you in Atlanta, India ran for mayor here in the city of Buffalo. She is the only person who was ever able to win the Democratic nomination for mayor against a long-standing mayor. But we have worked together on issues, and I know that she would approach this conversation not from a personal way, but from a professional way that would help us to heal. And so that's why we're here today. And again, so I know that in the end, there'll be somebody say, why wasn't I invited to the conversation? I invited those who I saw most on the front lines and have been seeing on the front lines. And that's not to say there's nobody else. And Sheila has said, and if there's got to be another panel with other folks, we'll figure it out. So I want to be very clear. This is no disrespect on the part of this show. We can only get so many people in the studio. We would have to rent out someplace, and maybe there is a time, and I pray. So let me give this. I wrote these thoughts so that we can understand what we're going to do for the next 2 hours. This program exists to provide our community a place to hear, understand, and reflect on the passion and perspectives of local leaders working for our collective good. Our purpose is to encourage respectful dialogue, promote peace and differences, amid differences, and inspire positive progress by valuing every voice. We invite listeners to join us in seeking understanding, finding common ground, and supporting peaceful solutions that move our community forward. There will be people in here who do not agree with me, who have not agreed with me in the past, and I want to say this to those of you who want to be in leadership. Everybody doesn't have to agree with you. There are some people who will bring a disagreement that will help you, and one of them is our co-host for the day, India Walton, because when we met, I was a council member. I don't know if I was council president yet. I think may have been. And we ain't started out good because you came up to me in the community center and I ain't even know who you was. And India came up. You remember that meeting when we first met?
Run up game strong.
She gonna run up on me. And, do you support the community land trust? I was like, who is this? And so
I don't even know what you're talking about.
that's what I said. I looked at her. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But through that, she explained it. I supported it. We worked together on parking in the fruit belt, where people wanted us to be against each other. Why are you working with Pridgen? Why are you working with India? We just decided we had a common goal, and we worked together. And between you, me, Crystal Peoples, and a lot of other people, I think what happens sometimes people don't realize you can't get big things done by yourself.
You can't.
And so we worked together, and with the unions. Like when we first got ready to do parking, I was surprised. The unions was like, oh, heck, nah. Our people need some place to park. So we had to work with unions, and we got a lot done. And some of the guests that I'm going to introduce in a few minutes who are at the mics right now in the building is Carrie Horn, Miles Carter, Betty Jean Grant, the Honorable Katrina Martin Bordeaux. I'll probably say it wrong every time. She can correct me. Carlanda Meadows, and of course, India Walton. And on my side is Mark Pope. Thanks, Mark, for setting this all up.
Absolutely.
You remember I called you in the middle of the night?
Yes, that's what we do. That's what we do.
And at 60 years old, and for those in Atlanta who might not, I'm the former council president at 60 and the pastor in this church to this region. And my mission right now at this point in my life is to try to bring peace and understanding and progress, so that we're not just talking for the next 2 hours. The phone lines at some point will be open. I'm going to go. India, anything you want to say before we start this forum about leadership, where we go from here in Buffalo?
What you were saying about like working together and some of the work that we had done previously is a colleague of mine says you don't have to be in love to dance.
Well,
and I think that I want to just reiterate that as for me, I know there's a lot of preconceived notions and perceptions of who I am, but I will work with anyone as long as we are working toward a common goal and, productivity is seen. You're 60, I'm 43, but I'm at the stage in my life where I don't have time to waste. I have grandchildren in this world. So I pray that today we have a productive conversation and we come out with some next steps.
Good. Thank you. We're going right to it, and I'm going in the order, and if somebody else comes in, we'll add to the sheet. But Cario and Miles were the first to enter the studio. So I'm going to start, although Cario was number one, I'm going to start with Miles. And I'm going to start with Miles because Miles, I see him at everything. And at the end of the day, Miles, can you tell a little bit about you and how you came into doing what you do now?
I mean, I'll keep that part short. I came out during the George Floyd protests back in 2020, and I was protesting. I was assaulted by the police. And then I was charged with multiple crimes by Buffalo and State Police, which I beat, and now I'm currently in a civil suit against the city and the state. That's a little bit about me. But I wanted to answer your question about leadership, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because I think it's important that leadership shouldn't be what we're looking for, right? Leadership is a reward for doing the right thing. And that's how we have to look at leadership. So instead of looking at somebody and saying, oh, you want to be a leader, you're going to be a good leader, look at the person and the stuff that they're doing and say, are they the right person? And then you push them into leadership. That's how leadership is supposed to work.
Do you feel that, and all of our opinions are so important, Miles, and I appreciate it. Do you feel that that's what currently happens in our area?
Not entirely. I do think that there are those individuals that the community has said, we trust you, we trust your opinion, we trust your voice. But I do think that there are other people in the community that push for leadership and that are detractors from what we're trying to accomplish as a whole. What we're trying to accomplish is still liberation. Like that's still what our conquest is. People forget Buffalo is one of, if not the poorest cities in the entire country. And that means the black community in Buffalo is one of the poorest communities in the entire country, right? But there is money in poverty, and people take advantage of that continuously. So I think that, given what has happened, between the two communities, right? People refer to as the Muslim community and the black community. I think it's important for everybody to understand our history and where we come from, right? We've all been colonized. And it's important to break out of that colonization and start moving towards a common goal.
I totally agree. Carrie Horn, I know everybody in Buffalo, especially who listens to this station locally, knows who you are. but there may be some people in our Atlanta audience. Welcome, Atlanta. You are listening to Family Conversation in Buffalo, New York. Can you just give a brief of what you've been through and then what launched you into doing what you do?
First, I'd like to give an apology to my community for being a little messy on Facebook. Although I spoke the truth, it may have been a little messy, but I'm only human. I basically wrote a few sentences of what I wanted to see as a law. I didn't want any other cop to go through what I had gone through if they were doing the right thing. And after George Floyd died in 2020, people were like, wait, we want cops to do that. Wait a minute, that cop back in Buffalo, remember that story? And then that's when more and more people started hearing about it. And then that's when you came on board, even though we had talked years prior, and you said, well, you have my support. We just got to get everybody else on board.
Right.
And so it took years to do that, but we did. And now Carrio's Law, which is the duty to intervene also, is passed here in the city of Buffalo, and I've been pushing for it to be on the state level.
Well, and I want to say this, and I saw somebody's comment about your apology, because you didn't just apologize here. You did it in the same arena that you feel like you were being a little messy. And I appreciate that. You went back, because it doesn't take, I also owe you an apology. Because when you first went through what you went through, I was not an elected official. But I was somebody who was active in this community, right? Was I elected when the...
You were my pastor, because I came to you,
but not elected
and I talked
official.
to you about it.
Not elected official yet. And my apology is I didn't know how to handle that situation like I do now. And so we all grow, and I agree, and I think it's okay to be able to say, I really would. So I had to do double time when I became an elected official and go and stand up against people who thought that me wanting to help you with Carrio's Law and me wanting to help you get your pension, like, just leave it alone. It's never going to happen. And it was one of my goals. And when I ran, one of the things on my flyer was about Carrio Horn. And so once I knew you somewhat straight, I was like, all right, but I want to be able to say to you, like you just said to this community, I apologize. I didn't know how to handle your situation in my younger years. So thank you. All right, in here.
Yeah, we're making progress already.
I mean, because it's okay to say, like, I didn't know how to handle that, and be honest about it. And then you can't, I mean, if somebody want to keep it going, they can, but you let it off, The third person is the Honorable Betty Jean. Oh, the documentary specialist is in the house. Betty Jean Grant, the Honorable. She has been elected several times, and not only in our city, but in our county. She has led a movement about the 33. Those of you, again, I got to keep clarifying, Atlanta, that's a major expressway. Now, Atlanta, you all have so many highways and expressways, it might not seem anything to you, but it's the major expressway that goes through our community. And Betty Jean Grant is here, who's also, and I have to acknowledge this, I believe, a candidate still for legislature. Sister Grant, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Buffalo, and thank you for those who are listening.
Will you tell us a little about
you? When I first started in community activism, I had to go back down to 1968, I believe, when Dr. King was assassinated. I'm a citizen near Memphis, and we were planning in my little hometown, 18 miles away, a demonstration in support of Dr. King. Now, this is under the notice that most people in the South during that time did not own their homes. They were sharecroppers. They lived in the guy who owned the property. They lived in his house. And so we're different. We own our homes. So those of us who own our homes, felt that we could protest in support of Dr. King and not have any damage, whereas those who are sharecropping are living in somebody else's houses, and old people know what I'm talking about. They would probably have been forced out of their homes, or they would have been evicted, or they might have been hurt. So I have been really dealing with protests and demonstrations against race all my life. I came to Buffalo, and I demonstrated with Charlie Fisher when I was a council member about building the C District station in the Fillmore East Ferry area, and did not include black. I protested with Charlie Fisher with 125 people when I formed We Are Women Warriors, which was formed when Trayvon Martin was murdered, unalive or murdered. I formed that group to give support to women. So I want to say I've been marching, demonstrating all these times. And when Charlie Fisher took 125 people to Solar City, I was with them, and we were there to protest and demonstrate. Is that my blood? People say, aren't you tired? Aren't you want to sit down with a rocking chair? No, I don't do that. Do you want to go on trips? I've been overseas all my life. My community, and I'm going to do this as long as I can. I did it when I had a walker, when I had hip surgery. I'm doing it with a cane, and I'm doing it when I'm walking freely. But I'm not going to sit down and have this community need all the support that it does, and I don't get involved.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Betty Jean Grant. I don't have my list here, so I'm not sure of who is next on the. Somebody grab my list so I can see who came in next. And the next person who came in is sitting right here in the studio. Katrina Martin. Is it Bordeaux? Bordeaux?
Bordeaux.
That's French.
It's French.
It's French.
Yes.
Are you from any part of like New Orleans or anything?
I'm not, but my husband has West Indies heritage.
I'm sorry, right. Bordeaux is after the dash. That's the husband.
Yes.
Tell us answer the same thing, who you are and how you got involved in community work.
Okay. I am a registered nurse and a community activist. I'm a political activist, most known as a democratic political activist. I graduated from Damon University in 2005. At that year, I did my first wide-based community needs assessment based on sickle cell in our community and resources that ballooned into something bigger than what I thought that project would be. Seeing how those initiatives were written in that project and how they were utilized by the university, speaking of UB, because UB asked to use the project in disparities in my community and addressing those disparities based on needs-based assessments and proposals to move us forward. Later on in around 2013, I get more involved with politics. This is on the heels of Trayvon Martin, and I seen a need for my community to be heard and actually seen in the political echelons of where we are today. So I've always had an interest for politics, followed it as a, young person, but at that time I said to myself it was time to get, involved in a different way. And so I would like to give myself credit for initially leading that, what I would like to call hip-hop culture's political movement into politics. So.
Thank you so much, and I'm so thankful that all of you could be here. We also have with us Carlonda Meadows, and this is the one who smiles all the time. Welcome, my sister, and tell the folks about you.
Yes, I'm Carlonda Meadows. I would like to say that when I was very young, like in my teenage years, I was surrounded by a lot of great leaders that poured into me. Dorothy Hill, Michael Hill, Betty Jean Grant, Byron Brown at the time. And I always was speaking up for like youth advocacy and abstinence at the time. And then my Aunt Peggy Heath would always like bring me to all of these community meetings and organizations, ABWA, Juneteenth, Kwanzaa, Southern Christian Leadership. And so she was like pretty much trying to make me a Malcolm. That's what she would say, and teach me about my heritage. So I would be very vocal, and I was, really involved in the media. But I would say my community activism came when Mark L. Fuller pulled me. I think I was about 20, 21 at the time, and he was like, "You need a little bit of Martin in you, sister." So I just dwelled in against violence in our community. The homicide rate was very high. I had 2 young babies, and I just wanted them to grow up and not be, to be safe. I want them to grow and be safe and not in a violent neighborhood. So I just dwelled full throttle all the way in. And, you know, then I got to just be surrounded around the men on the front line, you know, Pastor Giles, Arlie Daniels, Marco Fuller, and learn hands-on what it takes to really give your all to fight for the community. And I've just been doing it ever since. You know, I wake up every day in the spirit of God to lead me in peace and love. So I've gone from that rebel without a cause to a rebel with a cause, and standing up for youth because I believe they're our future. But the best way for us to do that is with peace. So I'm like a natural peacemaker, and that's just what I do. I like to bring peace to everyone. So that's why you always see me smiling. Positive vibes only. But, you know, when it gets real, though, I definitely can get right with it and say what needs to be said. So, yeah, that's it. That's my activism.
All right, we go into it. Did I get everybody who's in the studio? Did I miss anybody? Everybody who's here is here. And I know there's some people who might be coming in. Did I miss anybody that's in there? Who is that? All right, so I want to make sure we got everybody who is in the studio, because it's time to get to it and have a real darn conversation. Let me say this. It does not mean we all have to agree. I did not call together a choir. I did not call together everybody that has to agree. I'm just asking us to be respectful in other people's opinions of some of the questions that we will ask, and others may arrive, and when they arrive, we'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. I'm going to ask question number one. You'll come up with your own. So here, I'm going to start on this positive. Our community that you feel are often overlooked, the strengths of our community that you feel are often overlooked. And I'm not going to choose a person because everybody might not want to speak on a question. So if you have something and it's in your mind, then go for it. And I think I see a hand in the studio.
One of the most major strengths is the fact that we actually recognize having a black community that does come together and represent our culture. I travel a lot, and when I go to other cities, they don't have like a black business directory. They don't have, you know, where black people come together. It's just like, what? What do you mean? You know, East Side, that doesn't exist in other cities because it's just a melting pot and everybody just supports each other in a sense. But we have a strong foundation here of where we recognize who the black people are in our community. We support each other. I mean, we have the biggest Juneteenth. So our Juneteenth and Kwanzaa speaks for itself, where other cities, they don't even celebrate it the way that we do. So the fact that we come together and celebrate our culture and know who we are in our community is definitely one of our strong assets.
Sister, I really appreciate that, because when you do think about Juneteenth, sometimes we do not highlight the good things that are going on in here. So thank you for sharing that. Miles, what you got?
I want to not piggyback, but kind of joining Carlonda with that is that we do have, I think, a strong black community here. And one of the other things I want to say is just, you know, someone who is, you know, I'm getting out of the younger generation, but as part of the younger generation, I do feel like I have a lot of elders that I could look to for support when it comes to community issues and the things that we're dealing with. You know, and that's why I feel like, you know, the what happened at TOPS was a huge blight to our community because it took a lot of our elders out of here. But I do feel like we do have a strong elder support system, because a lot of people that are from Buffalo State, so you know how to better yourself. So we do have a lot of history here. So I think we have that.
And Miles and any of the hosts can come on it. When I ran for office and when I was in the office, I depended a lot on George K. Arthur. And I depended on him because I respected him so much. And it was like if I had to pattern myself after somebody or my decision making. So at times I would call George. I was council president, but he had been council president. And so I would call him and we'd sit down and I go like, this is what's on my mind. So even for today's conversation, I called Cliff and I'm like, let me tell you what's on my mind. And I'm, you know, so the night that I did it, that I like started reaching out, the next morning I was going to cancel it. Because I was like, what? Do you really want to be in the middle of this? And then it was like, it doesn't mean you have to be in the middle of it. You got to be a part of your community. So I appreciate that, brother, because in front of us and be able to say, maybe I don't agree with everything what you did, but I want to hear and I want to learn. And people like Eva Doyle, who calls, and I hope she'll call in, and Sister Doyle, we're at the station today because there's people like that.
Little history. George K. Arthur left a great vacancy in our community when he died. George K. Arthur, when he was council president, now when he was council member at large at a district before he became council member, he had the support of James Pitts. He had the support of Dave Collins and Herb Bellamy, and they met every week at Maddie's and other black venues in Buffalo. They met, they were the black elected officials of the 1980s, 1970s, and 1980s, and they met every single week, and they strategized on what can they do to make sure this community needs were met. That's what we don't have right now. We don't have our politician meeting and come together. And Bishop Pridgen, you can remember when I became council member, I asked for a meeting, we met, and I won't say anything about that. But we met to strategize. That's what's missing now. We have elected officials, and they all in a vacuum. They all say, well, I'm going to do this for the community without meeting with other council members and other legislators to see what in the best interest of that group. And we became, Bishop Pridgen, please have Monday meetings so we can find out what is going on with our elected officials. And I'm glad that you was able to do that. You had your town hall meeting. I think the strength of our community, the strength of our community are all the many churches that we have. Because whatever's going on in Buffalo, the chaos, the people in different directions going 5,000 different ways. When they go to church, there's one person they go there to pray to. There's one person there that they go there to make sure that we leave their community issues in the community. They go to church to worship, to celebrate with a network of having those town hall meetings. Each church can be the host of a town hall meeting every month. I think it's going to put stability in our community. It's going to give people a place to go where they can know that they are in a safe haven and that they have the interests of the community and themselves at heart in mind.
Thank you, Sister Grant. Coming into the studio to Sister Katrina.
As a community, to answer the question, is we have the oldest black organizing base within our community, and that would be the black church.
Wow.
And so I think that is one of the most obvious things that we have that we, forget about. We have historical black neighborhoods and communities that have housing values that are increasing now. We have the music. I think we should never forget the music. We have the food, right?
Yeah. We got the food.
And so there's things that as a community and as black people that we have in common and that we have in unison. We also have, if not the strongest, one of the strongest political, and that would be, our unity, coalition. And not even forgetting about our former grassroots.
That's right.
And so there's things that this community has, and we should remember, what we do have.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to start out there, because there are all of these positive things. Is that Sister Dora? All right, I'm going to get to her. Stay right there, Sister Dora. Kwanzaa and those things that a lot of, in our Atlanta those of you who are listening at our Atlanta station, when I'm in Atlanta, these are some things I see all the time. Like almost every day, there's something you can do in Atlanta that is Afrocentric. And we have problems in Atlanta too. But I think that the history of Atlanta and the history of our people being so in their face, all the time, that it's a whole different type of vibe. And so, Carol, you have something to add to that?
Yeah. This is the positive moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say that out of all of the buildings and everything that have been bought out in our community, some things, buildings that we do have are the churches. And I think that we can use those to start charge of our youth and put time and attention into them. And definitely that was positive for me to help me grow was the BLAC, which is the Buffalo Local Action Committee. And that was with Sam Radford down at the CAO. But that building, it felt like a home. Like anytime you wanted to just stop in, you stop in and you were welcomed. And if you had ideas, everybody was just so supportive of that. I don't feel that anymore. So it's like a type of disconnect. There's a type of disconnect right now, but because we're keeping it on a positive note.
Right.
And Carolina wants to speak.
I think
Okay, yep, go ahead.
another positive that we have in Buffalo is we mentioned Kwanzaa and Juneteenth, but I think our cultural institutions as a whole, the African American Heritage Corridor, the African Cultural Center, Ujima Theater, and there's also right now here in Buffalo. We're sitting in a black-owned radio station. We have the Criterion, we have Challenger News that really speaks to the issues of our community in real time. And as a person who's run for political office and still does political strategy, you know, people are moving away from advertising in the Buffalo News and really focusing on publications like the Challenger and Criterion, because we know that those are the publications that speak to our people. And even people like Carlonda, right, and like our street news travels faster on social media and Facebook and Twitter than anywhere else these days. So we do have a lot of independent media journalists, people like Doug and Ross Mwada and Joe Mo.
And you got to say this while they're here, because Doug Ruffin, and if those of you who are, if you want to know about Buffalo, those of you in Atlanta, you can go onto YouTube. And I got to find out what Doug's, what the channel is. I think.
Here.
Yeah. Tell somebody find out, and please go on YouTube. And even people in Buffalo. Where's Doug? Doug, what's the channel on YouTube?
YouTube.com/Buffalo History Channel, or just put in Buffalo History Channel in the search engine.
Just put it in the search engine. Put in Buffalo History Channel. And I'm going to tell you this, Doug has taught me a lot. Like, there's stuff that when I wish I had the Buffalo History Channel and known about it when I ran for office. Because when I look at what those who came before me and what they did, there's all of these nuggets and lessons, and I bump my head to figure them out. And then you have these other people, and thank you, Doug, for chronicling it and then doing it from such a fair space. It's not a political channel. It's just about our rich history here in Buffalo. India, you got questions? Was there somebody else on that question before we go to the second question? All right, go ahead.
Yes, of course, I'm a foodie, so I got to re-emphasize the greatness of the food in the city of Buffalo, and the chicken wings, but the soul food.
Oh, but can you deal with where the chicken wing came from?
Man, Paul Young.
Come on, let's get it.
John Young. And, well, you know, I know the whole family, so the food. But most importantly, I'm going to emphasize that we have great people. Our people are intelligent. They are courageous. They stand up and speak out. And not only do the people that we have are great, we have access to the people. You know, I don't know too many cities where you have access to your council member, your mayor, and your political leaders. You know, the people that are great leaders, we can go to them, we can call them, we have the information, we see them in places, you know, they're not guarded by security and gatekeepers. We actually have access to the people when we need help. And if you know somebody and you know somebody, then you definitely have access. So that's one of the great things that I like about Buffalo. When I go to Charlotte and other places, I see the people, I might know them, but I don't necessarily have access to them the way I have access to people here, which is probably why I'm still in.
Do they have one more in the studio? I'm going to go to Eva Do, and then we're going to pay some bills. Was there one more? Okay, that was it. All right, let's go to Queen Doyle. Are you there?
Yes, I am. You know, I just want to say briefly that I have interacted with everyone there in the studio, and I want to thank you, Bishop, for recognizing my work when you were in the council. I'm a historian, a retired teacher. I've written more than 4,000 articles on African American history in almost 50 years. I would like to announce that my 8th great-grandchild was born this past 7 grands, and I have done a lot. I want to thank Mrs. Grant, because when I ran for lieutenant governor of New York State, she mentored me, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank Carol Horn for sticking with me when my husband passed away. Wow. So I have a lot. I've written 13 books on the little-known facts of Black history, and last month I received a Lifetime Achievement Award from Buffalo State College. So I just wanted to share just a little bit, Bishop. And now that I'm a great-grandmother and I'm going into my 80th year. My role is to share knowledge, encourage our young leaders and our young people, and to teach our history.
Sister Doyle, let me put you to work real quick. And I know this is putting you on a time limit, but can you give us where we're at now as far as whether you call it leaders or advocates or whatever, the mistakes from the past that have hurt African Americans when we're trying to organize? Could you remember any portion of history where we really needed to be together, but we ended up falling apart?
Well, I don't think we spoke out as much as have the kind of leaders that we have today. We had the people like Ted Kirkland and Law and George K. Arthur and all of those people. We have to remember what they stood for and follow their lead. What I see now, all of the young people that are leading now, I'm encouraged because they're speaking out, they're organizing. I will say this, if there's anything, I've sort of stepped back a little bit, if there's anything I can do to help them in terms of information and knowledge, just give me a call. I'm still writing for the Criterion newspaper.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Queen Doyle.
I'll stop because, I can go on and on.
We'll be right back.
Funeral Home has 3 locations to serve you in Buffalo: 347 Peckham, 2258 Bailey Avenue, and Providence Memorial Chapel at 1275 Sycamore. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes offers traditional services, and they have services for all faiths. And at Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, they have air-conditioned parlors and chapels. Financing is available, as is limousine service. At those difficult moments in your life, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes is available where you are with counseling services. Call toll-free 877-885-7734. That's 877-885-7734. Or locally 845-5545. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. We are here to serve you, here to serve this present age. Call today, toll-free 877-885-7734. Or email info@brianklewisfuneralhome.com.
When it comes to something as personal as your clothes, you need to deal with somebody you can trust. That's why so many people turn to Hobson's Dry Cleaning, 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming.
When you take your clothes to Hobson's, you can trust that they'll be ready on time.
That your whites will be white.
That you'll always get a fair price and service with a smile.
You can even trust that you won't have to get out of your car if you don't want to. Hobson's has a drive-through window for your convenience. Hobson's Dry Cleaning, your one-stop dry cleaners serving the community for over 30 years at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming. Call 891-8298.
We're back. India, what's your question?
Sure. So there's a lot of powerful leaders in this building.
Yeah.
And, I think that to get to the root of what we want to accomplish today, we do have to talk about conflict. So I want to know, and we'll do just a quick lightning round. This question is for everyone. What are some of the core disagreements that you find among leadership here in the city of Buffalo? Like, what are the things that we just cannot agree on?
Can we start in the studio?
Let's start in the studio.
Since you didn't answer on the last one, go ahead, Katrina.
I think one of the core reasons that our black leadership and leaders within the community find differences is in relation to methodology, how execution, how do we achieve our goals and initiatives. I think one of the most important thing is who we bona fide to lead those initiatives. I mean, I don't think it's a secret that I'll probably never be for any group, any organization that comes from outside of our collective black community to lead us anywhere. I think that is one of our issues. As far as sharing space with those from outside of our community, to our interest, I don't feel that it is necessary. As a political activist, as a community advocate, you've never seen me in Amherst anywhere. Trying to shape their school boards, trying to shape their community, trying to dictate and pick their leaders. And so, like I said, as a political activist myself, a democratic political activist at that, I think that is where I begin to bump heads with some of the other black leaders. I feel that we have our own leadership, we have our own organizing body. Once again, I'm gonna get back to the black church. I think organizing the community should be more of the responsibility on the black church than what it is now. And I'm just going back to what I looked at and what I seen that worked during the civil rights movement and at other times throughout our history. I don't think we need an outside group, an outside faction, anyone to tell us how to get our equity, to tell us what to do, to tell us the best way to do it, to tell us who to like, to tell us who to. It ends up amounting to, in order to address the issues within marginally that we're trying to, hang up, for the totality of everything, and it doesn't advance our likeness, and it definitely has never advanced our people. And so that's where we have a disagreement as far as I
Coming
see it.
into the rest of the panel, anybody who wants to go. Go ahead, Miles, or whoever.
Address the John Young chicken wing thing first, and then I'm going to go into the disagreement. John Young came to Buffalo, and he brought from Baltimore, Maryland, 1963, a recipe that he was doing in Baltimore, Maryland. What it barbecued, whatever they did, and they would serve it with a mumbo sauce. The chicken wing came with both parts that we have now, and also came with a tip, so that's the way he sold it. In 1964, the Anchor Bar, it's the name of it, started cooking chicken wings. Teresa, what she did was took the chicken wing, cut it in half, and served it with a blue cheese sauce, blue cheese dressing. So, and that's what they call the buffalo wing. So if you look at the history, John Young did invent chicken wings in Buffalo. He brought it from Baltimore, Maryland. He served with a mumbo sauce. So he is the king of chicken wings. 1 year later, chicken wing was divided in half, sold as two parts with blue cheese, and they call that buffalo wing. So that's why they said that Anchor Bar is the creator of the buffalo wing, but Anchor Bar is not the creator of the chicken wing being sold, because John Young did that 1 year earlier.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you. When we try to organize and to fight an issue, if we bring our personal disagreement, our personal dislike into that situation. So instead of speaking with one voice, forgetting all the other dirty linen or what we have about us that people don't like or people trying to do it, we leave that at home. We come to a protest or a meeting with the clear intent of that focus, of that objective goal we're trying to do, and all the other personal stuff should be put to the side until we solve what we need to do. So that's why we're not strong, because we bring our personal issues into the protest.
All right, next.
Mine isn't a direct issue with anyone in particular. I think that, as far as kind of the disconnect, right, is what I'll call it, that is happening to me when I see what's going on out here in the community. And this is no disrespect to anybody, but it's like the older generation and the younger generation aren't communicating, and it's not for the lack of effort, but it's like, this conversation is supposed to be about, pushing us forward, you know what I mean? And it's like, our younger generation has a short attention span, right? So because we took so long focusing on all the other stuff, you know what I mean? So it's like, we need to learn how to communicate quickly and concisely. That was one of the things that Malcolm X was praised for, right, is that he didn't have to say so much to get his point across, right? We need to learn how to communicate quickly and concisely to these young people, right, so that we can keep them on track and we can keep pushing them forward, because the communication to me is like, it's broken. And it's like, by the time we get the message, it's like so many people are checked out.
Well, and I know for like these 2 hours, it's not a lot of young people who will be listening because of the hour. And I think that at the end of the day, one of the things that separates us is being able to communicate both ways.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a point well taken. Thank you, brother. Next in the studio or in the control room?
I would say one that we don't operate on one accord is too many chiefs and not enough Indians. You know, whenever it's something that we stand up for, it's like everybody wants to stand up and say something, when we should all have a sound plan and agenda and let one person be it can happen, which we totally don't agree on, is trust. You know, we have so much power amongst us, but we don't trust each other. And I say this because I've been into, we call them silos, so many different silos of people who did come together on one accord. And when it came time to put money into a bank account and you had to decide who was the signer, everything gradually fell apart. So in order to have power, you gotta have money, right? Economics, but that means you gotta trust somebody to handle the money. And if we can't trust to agree to have someone to put their name on the account and we put money in it, well then that's where it falls apart. And so supporting as much as we love one another, when it comes to real support, you know, Frill Page just tried to call in, and you know that's like my best friend, but I've seen him, you know, work and put his own money into, when he had the skating ring on Amherst and trying to rally. I mean, prior to him, it was being used to hold mattresses in the building when this white guy had it. And so then he gets it and does it for our community and put blood, sweat, and tears in it. And then we have people that's rallying against him. Right now, he has the Turner Care building, the school, and he's trying to make that like a Black Wall Street. And, you know, he had all of the support with doctors, businesses, and things come in, and he's been stopped because it's people from the community that are called downtown. And, you know, just this rallying against each other where one person can't do it alone. We have to stand together. But in order for us to stand together and do anything moving forward, we have to trust one another. You just got to, like, give in and take a risk and just trust somebody that they're doing the right thing.
Thank you, sister. Next.
Okay, I want to speak about the Mandela incident. I want to start there, even though I can go back further than that. But with the Mandela incident, that's why I had made the apology from the jump, was because I got caught up in bickering with, I'm not going to say her name because she's not here, but the point is, she's like called me a house pirate. So had I stolen a house, you think?
And I don't. So this is what I'm going to try to keep it on.
No, I understand that. I'm going back to what the issue.
Right.
What she's saying the issue was.
Right.
So that's.
Well, she is in the studio, by the way. And I am going to bring her on, but I want to make sure that we don't start to.
No. Okay. Yeah. But I'm saying this is what the issue. What I'm saying right now is that was the issue, and I got stuck as far as what happened. It was beautiful. Our whole community came together, young people, old people, or whatever, came together and basically made a stand. Well, because it didn't just start. It's been going on forever. But the point is, she and, no.
Oh, okay.
I'm coming into what the issue was.
Okay.
So she and a guy came. We were at the ferry location, the ferry Mandelas, and basically.
So I want to. Can you answer India's question?
This is part of it.
Okay.
What the problem is.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be quick. It's gonna go.
Yep.
But I was just laying the foundation.
Okay.
So the problem came in is we were at the ferry location, and she and a guy came, and they basically was like the video was fake or whatever. Now. I know I had questions, and I like to analyze things, and I also edit videos. So I was like asking questions. I said, well, even so, the guy had the stick up, so because he had the stick up, he still was wrong. Because if I came and held a stick up at anybody, if they had a gun, they could shoot me because it's a deadly weapon.
Right.
Yeah.
So the point was, I was basically saying that even if the video was edited, that part, the guy was and he was under Article 35, New York State penal law, he was justified.
I got the owner in here, so I need, if you could get to what the question
Right.
is, what are those things?
The question
that
was
keep us
what
apart?
the issues are.
Right, but not about Mandela's necessarily.
Fundamental.
Right, this is,
Fundamental.
right, but I said I
example.
specifically wanted to talk about that, even though I could talk about the police department all day long, but what I'm saying, what the issue was because you were caught when, that's why I have to lay the foundation.
Yeah, so let me do this, sister, because I got the owner in here, and
Okay.
I want to be clear, and I said it from the beginning, this is, I don't want us to get lost in one issue because we have such a bigger world
Right,
that we got to look at. So wait a minute, I got to take the mic because I've got the owner of the station, Sheila Brown, who is with us, and I want to thank you for giving us this time.
No, I want to thank you for wanting to get a forum done, because I think people forget on the biggest power move that me and you had a chance to do in 2012.
Yeah.
As I hear them talking, I'm in the conference room and I hear them saying black people can't work. In 2012, I came to you and I had a chance to come to the board of directors, and we wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for you telling me yes. Like, let's go get that station.
Yes.
So before I was able to go get big funding from an actual institution of M&T Bank, I got local funding from True Bethel Court.
Yeah.
So that is right there, or we wouldn't have these microphones right now. So I think people always forget on the power move that we had happen in the African American Heritage Corridor to make this happen. I don't know if another black business has come together and did what we had a chance to do. So I don't want people to forget that.
Sheila, I want to thank you because, you know, I think that was a blessing and a curse, because then every time somebody thinks that somebody should invest, it's like, why isn't True Bethel investing? And why didn't they buy this or why didn't they buy that? But at the end of the day, you came to us and we were in a position to be able to help, and you have never backed down from this. And I want this community to know this, that when we invested in her dream, it was one of the reasons because Wuffle was the first station I ever was on. I've been on Wuffle, whether people know it or not, since I was 14 years old.
Right.
And I was here with Thelka McCall and doing gospel on Sunday morning. And when you said you wanted to keep it alive, and you need to, do we have to do we got 2 minutes, right? You wanted to keep this alive. And we went back to True Bethel and to the board and to the people, and they said, yes, you never back down. And I'm going to say this publicly. When one of the banks came to you, you didn't go to the bank came to you, said True Bethel had to subordinate our position.
Come in second position.
When we invested here, we were in first position, and we went into the bank. I'll never forget it. And all of the vice presidents were there, and all these people, and they're like, just was going to bully us. And I remember you looking across that table and you saying, True Bethel is first, and I'm not giving it up. And they still did what they were going to do.
They still did.
Because we stuck together.
Exactly.
And the reason that we, and especially for the Atlanta audience who is hearing this, you went and you bought a station in Atlanta, which is the oldest, I believe, black station.
There you go.
In Atlanta, Georgia.
Same like WUFO. Same exact type of station. And then I want people not to forget the years ago you did the boycott against Walden Galleria. And I told them I was not going to do Black Music Month conference there unless we raised the red, black, and green flag.
Yes.
So I think people you used to do the bus, put people on the bus.
Absolutely.
Let's go shop at black businesses. So if we would have just stayed on the model and the formula that you had in place, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Well, and that's why I appreciate what Miles was talking about the young and what we've been talking about, because a lot of times people don't know the history, so people jump to they're not doing anything and don't realize that the first even community group that came together against violence was Rashid, Janice, and Darius.
That's right, exactly.
With the help of a lot of other people in this community. And I didn't know that until other groups came and was like, it was
because you forget.
So I'm grateful, and so I think our portion now of being able to support us further apart.
There you go.
And that's our goal here today.
And you know what? When you text me, that's the first thing I said.
Yeah.
I said, I hope this is a healing where everybody say, let's work together.
Yeah.
Because if one person saying this, one person saying that, nothing is really getting done.
Yeah.
And how many people really having businesses where they're running payrolls?
Yeah.
Where they're figuring out, how do we keep these employees? How do we keep this medical? How do we get them on 401k? How do we build a new station across the street where we're not in the heat box?
There you go.
Let's talk bigger. Let's talk epic. When I came to you, this was an epic dream. I want to see people come to us with epic stuff.
Yeah.
And stop worrying about stuff that's keeping you up at night, and it ain't even your fight.
That's the station owner, Sheila Brown. Big ups to her. When we got to go and do the, it's the top of the hour. We got about 50 minutes left. I have in the studio Taniqua Simmons. We're going to get her to a mic, and I think somebody else is signing in now. I put out a wide net to be able to have real conversation. And I want to make sure to our panelists we stay on these questions, or else, you know, we want to get to a point where we can talk the fundamentals of how we do better. It's the top of the hour. Let's do what we do and identify our station.
Serving Orchard Park, Lackawanna, Cheektowaga, Amherst, Buffalo. Celebrating 65 years of broadcasting. The legendary Mix 1080 AM. WUFO. Power 96.5 FM.
WUFO Expo 2025 is Saturday, October 18th. Vendor slots positions are available now. For information, call during business hours. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 716-834-1080. 716-834-1080. Brought to you in part by Channel 7 WTV, Highmark, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Western New York, and the legendary Mix 1080 AM WUFO Power 96.5 FM.
All right, we're back, and I know that there's been some comments about the church, and I do want to say this, and I don't have his permission to say this, but I will say that one of another young brothers, Kenny Simmons, is doing some work behind the scenes, and just wanted to give him that acknowledgement, because a lot of times the people, some people who are doing some things you might not hear from, you know, publicly, but we've got a lot of powerful people who care about our communities. So what you're trying to do on your end. All right, I've got in the studio. Oh, Cold, thank you. You on it, Cold Spring Bible Chapel. And this talk about the church, and whether it's the church or whether it's our community centers or whether it's our mosques, at the end of the day, I do think that, you know, I think B.W. Smith, the late B.W. Smith, and I can't quote B.W., kind of said it best, that these are the places, the church is the place where people get together every 7 days. And so the church does play its role. You know, as a pastor, and for some of my colleagues, I can't speak, I'm not here to pretend I speak for my colleagues, because we got just as many problems too. There's divisions there too. We serve the same God. There's who believe you should get in, but there's so many pastors who are doing the daggone studio. Taniqua, thank you for being a part of the panel. If you will tell us a little bit about you and what launched you into doing the things that you do in the community. We got to get you a mic. I don't want you to think I muted you. Go ahead, Taniqua.
Oh, okay. You said what started me? Well, initially I started working in the community when one of my schoolmates was killed by a gunshot when I was in 8th grade. So ever since 8th grade, I've been organizing in the community. I started with Donald Dade at the Crucial Center.
Donald Dade at Crucial.
Correct.
So there was a question, and I want to give you the opportunity. There were several questions, but I'll get you into this last question. India, if you want to ask that again.
Sure. What do you see as a core disagreement that is dividing our community?
In what regards?
Fundamentals, right? So I'll answer this question because I haven't yet. I think that there is a lack in this community of class consciousness, right? We divide everything among racial lines, and there needs to be more political education, and we have to understand that we have a common oppressor, and that is racialized capital. And for centuries and generations, wealth has been denied, extracted from, and hyper-capitalism, and everybody being wealthy ain't gonna get us free. Right, so that's a core belief or a core disagreement that I have with a lot of leaders in this community. So what would you say would be that one pain point that you think that we are just...
The division is the lack of understanding of, as you said, capitalism, and of the root cause of the conditions that are in our community. We can all agree that what the conditions are, how the political system plays into reinforcing the poverty that is in Buffalo.
Okay. I think so. As we're talking about this, so this is on the same line, because we got to get to it. We got, I didn't want to bring you here just to kumbaya. I really want to say, like, let's figure this out. And so one of the things, as we're talking about, what do you believe that causes the most tension or division? Is that asking the same question about the most tension? Because if so, I don't want to waste anybody's time. You feel that answered it?
No, I think the one question is about values. I think the other question is about the things that we can't even begin to educate one another, because you can't get audience, right? And I know that we've had conversations, a lot of people who are in the studio today offline, about the gatekeeping. We want to talk about young people respecting elders, but when you go to the elders to get advice, sage advice, sound advice, you can't even get a call back. And I want to just give a shout out to Brother Bell, because he told me that you can put clothes in a washing machine with water all you want to, but they're not going to come clean without agitation.
Well, Brother Bell gave me some leadership today too, but I'm going to share at church on Sunday.
But I mean, even the relationship that you and I have, and a lot of people who we may have not agreed on everything.
Absolutely.
But knowing that you can come to a person for thought partnership, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only leadership, but thought partnership. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And you know that you're getting authenticity, you're getting honesty. They're going to tell you that hard truth, whether it's what you want to hear or not. We need more of that.
But does that divide us? And I'll come back around to the panel. Does that divide us even more when we get it? And I don't consider myself a leader. I'm here as a human being right now, as a man who cares about his community. But at times it is difficult if you take it personally, right? So I haven't, everybody in this room, I haven't at some time agreed with. Everybody in the other room, there are times we haven't agreed with, but at the end of the day, I respected somebody else's opinion. Is the respect level of opinion, is it eroding in our community? And if so, how do we build that again? Carrie?
So yesterday I had a conversation with Pridgen Grant, something that I didn't agree with.
Okay.
And that was with the meeting that was held. Because
Okay.
I felt like the community should have been met with first. And to hear the concerns of the community with the Bangladesh and whoever else is causing the issue, with them in the room, so that they can hear what how the community felt. And that is what I felt, because she and I...
So was that a positive interaction to be able, because we're talking about
because
the erosion of trust?
She can speak for herself because she's here, but the point is we had that conversation. And although I didn't agree with that meeting, she saw what value she wanted to see in it, so she can speak for herself.
But I think, and I'll get back. I'll get over to her. The takeaway here is that you two talked.
Yeah.
I want to go back into this.
Because I wanted her to understand how I felt.
That you talk. So let me go over to Sister Grant. Sister Grant, was that a valuable conversation?
Yes, it was a very valuable conversation. Like I said, we don't have to agree on every single thing. She had a point of view that was different from mine. I respected that. I had a point of view that she, did not support at this time, and she respected that. So that's what we need. We can disagree, but we don't have to be yelling, screaming, and airing our dirty linen in public when we try to solve an issue. We got to realize, too, that the issue of our community is bigger than all of us, and we need to work together. If there's a disagreement, let's sit down one-on-one in silence to disagree like Carol and I did, but not do it in front of a store or supermarket so the whole world can see it.
Katrina, I'm going to come to you, and I'm just going to be transparent. You and I have had our differences of opinion.
Right.
But I don't ever remember me attacking you, you attacking me, and it became about me and you.
Right.
And then somewhere along that line, I remember you make an appointment to City Hall. We sat down and we talked about it, and we were not really that different.
Right.
It was, I think you talked about it, it was the approach,
Right.
but it wasn't the goal. And one of the questions I'm going to ask the panelists in a few minutes after we finish this one is about our common goals of what we all want to see our community. So go ahead.
All right, and so that's what I'm try to do is pull this back into when you ask that question. I don't think that the questions are being asked about us per se, everybody sitting in here and how we get along. So
There
I
you
think
go.
we're
Right.
asking about community camaraderie in of itself, and issues that impact that is economic. It comes back to resources or the lack of resources. And so I think that is one of the biggest dividing points amongst our people is we have to figure out how to work together to advance ourselves economically, right? We have to work in a way where we provide the resources for our community. And so and that's in every country, whether it's America, whether it is, overseas. Economics will always be the thing that actually divides people first, right? The jockeying of power is political power, land power, territory power, right? We've seen it in our inner city communities when one is fighting for power of the block, right? To whereas we have seen situations where to be in a particular area, somebody is doing what we call taxing you on the block, right? Making you pay to be there or else, right? And so with what happened last week and what has transpired since then is I've seen a little of that mentality coming back out in this issue that, that actually that took place. So, and unless we make our black community stronger economically, we will continue to have, intra-community relations that we don't want to see that oftentimes transcends into violence.
All right, I'm coming into the control room. If there's anybody who wants to chime in the control room. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to let Carlonda go first.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, when you talk about tension and erosion of our community, first of all, I think we have to operate with integrity. When you go to do something, integrity means that I'm being honest, I'm doing it for the community, I don't have any personal gain from it, right? The other thing is respect. There's just a lack of respect for each other, whether we're leaders or not. We should always have the ability to disagree. But if I respect you as a person, I'm not going to tear you down. And then there has to be just a sense of loyalty to the cause. When you're loyal to someone, we should not ever be just battling each other and airing out our public laundry on a public platform, because that don't go away. And then we have to look at the bigger picture. There's younger people. I deal with young people, right? So when younger people, we're telling them how to resolve conflict and it be peaceful and do the right thing, but they see the adults doing the same thing, battling and everything, then how are you being a good role model for them? But operating off it with you, that still means that I could respect you. I don't even have to like you, but I'm still going to respect you. So respect, integrity, and just knowing that at the end of the day, the bigger picture, sometimes you have to realize that you can step up, but you also need to step back.
All right. Anybody else in the studio? All right.
Yes, I want
Go
to say
ahead.
too that
That was a good point.
we had a meeting. We had a meeting with the two owners of the Mandela Market, two different owners. The meeting came through because Muhammad Shamal asked me to get about 5 people to meet that was very vocal at that protest at the Broadway Jefferson service station. So I asked 5 people and more. Kalandra.
That's like 20 people.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kalandra, who runs the building where we had the meeting, was there, as well as Carrie Ho and others. People had an opportunity, those who were there, not to come. And I videotaped it. So the idea we had a private meeting to make a private deal with the store owner was just a lie. That spread so bad, it spread to the fact that we were called sellouts.
All right.
We were called that we were taking bags of money, that we had made deals and stuff. So we have to stop manufacturing disagreement, manufacturing stuff that's not even there, because there's enough real stuff there to take president, and we need to stop trying to tear a person down.
So I want to make sure, and I'm going to keep trying to keep this train on track, because that was one incident. And I think that if we get too lost in one incident of who said what, that we never will get to the point of any type of where do we go from here, which we're going to be dealing with in about 10 minutes. Because at the end of the day, I think that, and this is my opinion, just as my opinion is my show, I think every once in a while I get to insert it. I think people like when we fight. Yes. I think people from the outside like when in this room, and let me say again, because I know what will happen after this show. Somebody's going to say, I wasn't invited and I'm powerful, and I get it. And we're here every week. We help buy the station so that voices, I have literally sat and listened to people, just so y'all understand, on this station that I invested in, dog me, and there wasn't nothing I could do about it. And I didn't want to do anything about it. That's what free speech is about. That's what providing platforms is about. I didn't call. You never hear me call into a station when my name is mentioned and I got to defend myself. Why? At the end of the day, you're on the air because of the work that I've done in this community, and it ain't my money. Number one, it all belongs to God. But at the end of the day, I think that they told me 120. So at the end of the day, I think that we have to get to the place where we stop letting people see us as a sideshow, and then everybody's views go. And there are people in our community and there are people outside of our community that have enjoyed the last 3 days. And I'm going to tell you this right now, I'm not one of them, because at the end of the day, every voice in this room, every voice in both of these rooms, and every voice out there that puts their life on the line and that let other people, because this is our history. Our history is we'll keep moving ahead, because nobody ain't trying to wait for us to get our stuff together. They're loving the division in our community. Can you think of go ahead, India, and then I'll come back.
I want to put a pin in something that Carlonda said, and I want us to all put this at the forefront and at the top of our minds, is that all of this is predicated and based on trust. And in order to build trust with people, you have to have a relationship. We have to talk to each other. And, you know, when people were calling me and asking me why I wasn't out there, I said, everybody is talking into a camera, but it doesn't appear that anyone is talking to one another.
Well, look at this.
That we have to get back to the basics. The reason why the organizing in the church was so effective was because people trusted their leader. When the pastor,
let me say this, in 20, let's see, I'm 60 years old, more than 20. I'll say even recently, I've never been in the same room with everybody who's in this room right now. I've never had conversation like this. And so I think that, and before we get off the air, we probably need to talk about that. People who I hear their opinions, and I'm like, that's a really good opinion. But then in the end, it's like, we don't communicate. So I didn't have station. I know I got to pay a bill. When we come back here, and if there's somebody, I think somebody had wanted to, Miles, I'll come back to you. And then I want to talk about, can you name a moment when disagreement led to positive change? Can you name a moment when we disagreed, but it led to positive change? We're coming back. Let's go pay the bills.
Protect your community. Order fentanyl test strips and Narcan at erie.gov/detect. Keep them for yourself and give them to your customers, neighbors, family, and friends. Urge them to test their cocaine, crack, and other drugs to prevent an overdose and to never use alone. Sponsored by Erie County.
Want to grow your ministry like never before? Call ministry, whether it's a church, women's, men's, or children's ministry. Join Welcome to the Journey, a powerful workshop packed with tools and strategies to take your ministry to the next level with Dr. Philip B. Clemens Jr. September 20th, noon to 2 p.m., 277 Maston Avenue. Tickets are only $15. All attendees will receive a certificate of completion. Reserve your spot now. Call 716-308-5015. Don't miss this opportunity to be empowered, inspired, and equipped.
Did you know you can get more with New York Lottery Plus? You pulling my leg? No, seriously. Just enter scratch off and draw game tickets and get more points. Pulling a fast one? No. And you can put your points towards chances to win gift cards, cash prizes, and more.
Is this a stunt?
No, you even get points for playing new games.
You're pulling my chain, aren't you?
No.
Pulling my finger?
What? No. Man, put that thing away.
Sorry.
Introducing New York Lottery Plus. Download the app, sign up, get more. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
Hello, my name is Brenda Russell, and I'm a retired Buffalo school teacher. When I was involved in an automobile accident, I immediately hired Buffalo's #1 personal injury lawyer, John B. Elmore. Because I wanted the best, I chose the best. Mr. Elmore has a reputation as a compassionate, caring, and hard-working attorney. John Elmore stayed by my side during the entire time of need and fought to protect my legal rights. John Elmore is a man of integrity. He won the fight against the insurance company lawyers and got me the money that I so rightfully deserved. If you're injured in Buffalo's #1 personal injury lawyer.
This is Attorney John Elmore. If you're injured in an accident, please call me at the $3 million phone number 300-0000, 300-0000.
Past results do not guarantee future outcomes.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
You know what they say about judging a book by its cover? Everyone with an addiction has a story to tell. Don't know, don't judge. Addiction is a treatable medical condition. What helps people seek treatment is support. What does not help is shame and stigma. We can all make a difference. Learn how at oasis.ny.gov. The New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports. Every step of the way.
Have you made your reservations for our all-inclusive winter getaway to the Hard Rock Cafe in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic yet? Well, don't make them now. Make them right now. February 2nd through the 7th, Mix 1080 AM WUFO and Power 96.5 FM invites you to warm temperatures, a meet and greet, an all-white party. Bring your fans. I'm just saying. Beautiful beaches, 5-star accommodations, 24-hour room service, unlimited a la carte dinners, 20 bars and lounges, a fitness center, accessible golf carts, 4 poolside bars, all included access to Rockaway Bay Water Park, over 17 shops, 35% off spa treatments, spin for prizes every day, and Wi-Fi included. Now, you know we bring our own party, and with every party we bring, we'll have a different DJ. DJ Cess, the Queen City House Queen.
Hey everybody, this is DJ Cess, Queen City House Queen. Come party with me in Punta Cana.
The original DJ Wolf from Buffalo by way of Tennessee.
This is the original DJ Wolf D. I'll see you in beautiful Punta Cana, Dominican Republic.
And DJ Spanky from Mississippi, Terry Davis. So don't make your reservations for the Hard Rock Cafe in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic now. Make them right now. Call 804-991-0201 or go to seeyoutherevacations.com and we'll see you on the beautiful beaches of Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, February 2nd through the 7th, 2026. For more info, go to power965radio.com.
And we are back. Now, we're going to get to some individual questions about leaders and what their vision is and what they feel they could do. But I want to go back to Miles because we were on another question and you had something you wanted to say, Miles.
Yeah, harp too much on the issues, and I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of just a little bit because I think that we do have momentum as a community. All the noise and everything else aside, I think we do have a momentum as a community. And I think it's an important opportunity to highlight the narrative is that we're failing. But I think that given the poverty and given the amount of political distrust and everything that we have in Buffalo, I think the people are very resilient. We have tons of black businesses. We have tons of black homeowners, right? And just even corner stores, right? Because we're talking about this situation that happened at the gas station. Just, yeah, we don't have as many gas stations and corner stores that we would like. However, we have AVS at I think it's 1151 Fillmore, Tim Sullivan. That's a black corner store that we could support. We have Betty Jean Grant, who's sitting at the table, who has another black convenience store that we can support. It's like I just needed some Alka-Seltzer this morning, right? So it's like when you have a need, right? And it's something small that you don't need to go to the grocery store for. These are some small businesses in our community that we can support, and we have to put the reliance and the trust. Like, this trust has been a big thing, right? We have to put the trust in our floors and come to our roof and come to our siding because we don't trust us.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And if you need a home inspection, you can call Miles.
Oh, Miles, you do home inspection?
Yeah,
I know that.
But that's the other point, is that there's so many people sitting around this table today that are business owners, right?
Yeah,
And this is
yeah.
a representation of black people in our community that are actually doing things. Yes, we don't own as many corner stores and gas stations as we like, but I'm gonna list off a few businesses for people just so they have a good understanding. I'm a licensed home inspector. I'm All Eyes Property Inspection. I run my own business, been doing it for 10 years. Okay, you have Scott Realty. That's a real estate business. Andrew Scott and his father run Scott Realty. You have MMB Realty, right? The owner of MMB Realty was actually the president of the Buffalo Niagara Association of Realtors.
Wow.
Right, and this is another black-owned business, right? We have tons of them in Buffalo. We need to put them on a pedestal, and that's why I'm upset that Chantel Lynette is not here, who runs That Brown Bag, because she has done her work to collect as many black-owned businesses in our community and put them in one directory.
And they won't have to be like to this show, but they can be on this show.
For sure.
And this is what, and I'm going to come to young lady who is with us right now. Speaking of black businesses, tell them who you are. Everybody in Buffalo knows, but let the Atlanta audience know.
I'm Marnetta Malcolm.
Marnetta, and you've been very active. You do Friday night. You started Friday night on Jefferson after the Tops Massacre, and you've been going strong ever since that. You do the Rick James Funk Fest and so many other things in our community, and you have something coming up tonight.
Yes. So tonight, bring your black business down to Jefferson Avenue Friday Night Live. I have spoken to Chantel. She does.
And let me just see if we can get. I think I got a little feedback coming through. If we cut off theirs to get, so we can hear.
So I've spoken to Chantel. She does the brown bag, and she already have a directory.
Yep. Will she be there?
Yes.
She'll be there tonight. Okay.
Yes, she'll be there tonight. But I was encouraging people to use your feed on social media to post black businesses at, so she can capture them, and also wanted them on my page so she can capture them. I'm also is asking her to come up and just grab, if your flyer, your business card. We're going to be there from 4 to 8.
So I won't spend a lot of time there because I do want to invite her on the show.
Yes.
And give her time to really talk about, there you go, whatever just happened, to give her time to talk about that. So I want to thank you all for bringing that up. And you showed up at a restaurant that I was promoting on social media the other day, and so did so many from Buffalo
people.
That's the thing. So let's get to the heart. Come on, we here for a reason. Is there, and here's the question. What is your, is there anything as a leader, period, that you feel you could have done differently in the past? That, and be real quick, we don't have, and let's talk about it. You already apologized for some, I apologize. Anything you feel, Katrina, you could have did differently?
Of course. I feel that I've been able to, call myself on my own mistakes, and you don't see enough leaders in our community that way. So first and foremost, it's about getting all your facts, right? Mm-hmm. Knowing everything you need to know, being able to separate what I think because somebody is doing something, rather than to focus just on the fact in why they're doing what they're doing, to be less presumptive and to give more of the benefit of the doubt, in addition to not being as critical of leaders that come from my community, specifically black leaders. Right?
Wow.
Because oftentimes we're the only person in the room. And that's something that I, actually forgot about. I don't think that there's one black leader that has ever malice to do us wrong, whether you're an elected official or whether you're somebody that represents your neighborhood and community. I don't think that intent and malice is there for anybody to do us dirty or do us wrong.
All right, I'm going to go in, and because Tanika was just arriving, would you like to answer that question? Because you haven't had as much mic time, and I want to be fair. You want me to read it again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is there anything that you as a leader feel you could have done differently? And then just saying, what would you do differently? Is there anything in all of the years of leadership that you feel, hey, I could have handled that differently? You want me to give you time
Yeah,
to think?
I'll-
And if
I'll need to think
if
about
there
that.
is not, it's not. If you feel that everything you've done is like everything I did was the right thing, then that's a statement, and it's okay. Anybody else in the studio?
I'll speak. I mean,
All right.
because I feel like just as somebody that has been through it, I feel like I'm ready to fight all the time.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like I always feel like my back is up against the wall. You know, and and this is the fight or flight mode that a lot of us are in because of the trauma that we've experienced. And I will tell you one of the things that I've done differently is actually I see a therapist twice a month.
Wow.
And for
Tremendous.
my own mental health.
Go ahead.
And a lot of it is because I was assaulted by the police, and that did bring a lot of trauma. But there's a lot of trauma that exists in my life and in many of our lives, even before that event that happened in my life. So it's like I think that the biggest thing that we can do as people, not even as leaders, right? Because I don't want to take that claim, but as people, is before we jump, right? We have to take time and process and make sure we have our proper healing, so that when we jump, it's for the right reasons. And I think that that's missed a lot because we all have so much trauma and tension built up.
Brother, I really appreciate that comment, and I think that you being so transparent, I mean, I'm learning a lot about everybody in this room that I knew from TV or I knew from the struggle, but I think having these conversations where we're able to speak and be real about our own selves is so important. Next in the room, anybody else in the room?
I think one thing, I was thinking about what I would have done differently, and I think going back to politics, when I was chair of the Erie County Legislature, and we had an opportunity to get the Bills Stadium to get it renovated. And I went along with the idea of having Seminella to be the lead contractor project on that because the Governor Cuomo had said you can get the stadium redone, but you have to hire Seminella to do it, construction company. Whereas the legislature has the opportunity. And so what happened was I was holding off because there was no significant African-American participation. And they had enough votes, Democratic votes, because we controlled the legislature to pass it. And they could pass without my vote. And my whole thing is that I want to be part of the majority. So I voted against something that I constantly should have held back and voted no. And so I didn't follow my conscience, I followed. And that's why I was so vocal when they wanted to build a stadium in Orchard Park.
As a result of that, when we saw people unify over this new stadium, the Bills had to come out and put a whole panel together and had to figure out how, Thurman Thomas and everybody else could get a piece of the pie because of collective voice of our community that was like, because sometimes we can get lost on, and I'm not going to say insignificant things, but things that are not going to bring us long-lasting change, and being able to change somebody's life economically and give them a leg up. Those of you in my Atlanta who are listening in the Atlanta market, you already know it because when the airport was being built, it was a black man that was included in the building of the airport that was able to employ people and whose family is still, and they have roots in Buffalo, whose family is still running that business. And a lot of black people moved to Atlanta. There was already a lot of black people, but more people because they had specialties and moved on. All right, I'm coming back in the studio. Carlin,
I was choosing your battles. Stay in your lane and choose your battles wisely. Like, there's so many different issues that we deal with in the community, but, as a leader, even if you know or feel that you have the right answer or the solution, you can't just run and go take over somebody else's lane. So, I have 20 minutes a day, every day. That's how I start my day off with God. So doing critical thinking and asking the tough questions, but making sure you're asking the right questions. So many times we focus on the problem, but we don't focus on the solutions. We all know the problems, but we don't spend enough time communicating and listening to each other for the solutions. And I had to learn to just sometimes just shut my mouth. Just be quiet.
I thought you was about to give us a cuss word over here.
I had to think about it for a second. Remember what station you on, Carolina, right? Because I be rolling with the young people. But some person who has the voice, let them just lead and stay in your lane. Every fight, every battle is not our fight. And, I'm a person that doesn't jump to conclusions. Anything. I'm a Libra, and you a Libra. So, I learned very early on from Sandy White what, who, where, and why. you know, you got to ask those questions and just think before responding. We react so much, but if we were taking the time to, like you said, communicate and learn one another and understand each other, then we wouldn't have to react all the time, because I'm a person that I don't always think that a person is coming with negative or bad intentions, right? Right from the jump, that you're coming with good intentions. And the truth always shows it so. If your intentions are not good and pure, well, it's always going to come out, right? Like she said in a rinse. But we got to understand that with each other.
Tanika, I gave you time. Anything you want to say on this?
Or handle things differently, but I'm always standing up for what's true. I'm always standing up for what's true.
So let me get this part.
No,
Sometimes you say you saying you could say things differently also.
Sure.
And I think collectively of all of these people who are in the room, like the fighters, y'all some ground fighters, and I can't take that away, and I never want to take that away from you, because sometimes you need that. I always say you kind of need that bulldog sometime. I think that when we look at where we put our energy and making sure that the bulldog is not against one another is where the key is, because then we chew up each other, and then the other people own the businesses, and they still own the houses, and they still own everything else, and then we don't get to that nitty-gritty of boosting the ones who are trying to do right. And I want to say this, and then I'll come to and then we're going to go to the last question after you, because we're running out of time. Because somebody doesn't say anything about your leadership or what you're doing or your fight, it doesn't mean that they're against you. Right. Sometimes people say, let me be quiet so that they can be heard. I've told people I haven't done a TV news interview in almost 2 years. I've turned down almost every single request to be on the news. Voices that are out there now. I don't need the 4 o'clock and the 5 o'clock and the 6 o'clock news when there are other people out there on the front lines on an issue, but my silence may mean agreement because I'm not saying anything against. Go ahead, sister.
It's funny that you say silence. So here's what I'm hearing today. I'm hearing a lot of passionate people that are less than a half a degree of separation on how they feel about this community. Everyone here feels the same. Now, how you funnel that and get that to a positive performance for this community, I was taught one way, and I'm looking at this lady in this room, Carol Salter. And we ran this station together, and one thing, and we probably got it from our parents, that she would say, and I would say it as well, that when you are whispering to people, they're leaning in to hear. Folks aren't paying attention. It just sounds like noise. But you said about being quiet, but when you're also whispering. When my mother used to whisper, it used to frighten me because I knew what was coming next. It's too many loud voices. No plan. People are watching us as a community and are not respecting it because we've talked about leadership, lack of leadership. We've talked about lack of strategy. It looks like confusion. So for me, I think my biggest regret is not speaking on us as a community, really strongly strategizing and putting it together. Like I give events, right? Big events, and I give them really not just Buffalo, because I live in Miami and they operate differently here because they're much longer, well-established, impoverished, minority-majority community, but I see how they move together.
So I got to wrap up, and let me say this to everybody in this room. I want to give you the opportunity to come back individually on this room. I want to give you the opportunity for you to have an hour by yourself with us to talk about what you feel, and we don't have to agree. That's the reason that we invested in this platform. That's the reason Sheila wanted to be here. And I think that when people who, whether they're perceived as leaders, and we all trying to get away from that word leader, when they separate and use their platforms to separate, I want to make sure that this platform is to unite. So all you got to do is let us know if you're interested in coming on. I don't have everybody's number. If you want to leave me give me your Google number or whatever, and we'll get back in touch, and I'll give you an entire hour so that if somebody say, ain't nothing happened, a lot happened, it is happening in this room. The fact that we're all sitting in about where we go. And here's the last question. Where do we go from here, and what will you do for your vision of where we go from here? And I'm going to start in the studio.
Where do we go from here? We go up from here, like this point, but forward. And
how do we do that?
How do we do that? Number one, we do that by learning our neighborhoods and communities and know who and what is around us. We have 35 planning neighborhoods, and any leader in the city of Buffalo should understand those 35 planning neighborhoods. You should understand the demographics of it. And the reason why is because I understand or know the people that are coming into and moving into what we see as our communities. There's about 60 different languages spoken in the city of Buffalo now. And so what I would like to do in my role in all of this is start doing community engagements where we speak about cultures, where we know that there's a difference between an Arabic Muslim, between a Bangladeshi Muslim, between our Black Muslims, and so there is a of experience is defined in neighborhoods and communities and who we are. And so I think we need an education lesson about who and what we are, who is moved into the neighborhoods and communities.
And that's something that you champion. Going into the studio, anybody, whoever wants to be first, where do we go from here, and what's going to be your contribution to get us there?
I think I think like Katrina said, that education is important for everyone. But I think the most important piece of where we go doing this community work, right? And sometimes I put quotation marks around it, but it's like this is real. Like people that are out here doing this work need to come together. Because right now there is too much divisiveness, and it's been that way for a long period of time. It's like people are competing for space and trauma. Right, is that we can collect it. This is the same reason we can't do business together, right? Is we're all competing for space, but when we come together as a collective, we can start achieving these goals, right? Like when we have the momentum like we have, right? Our first focus is on accountability, right? How do we hold our elected officials accountable? How do we hold the business owners in our community accountable? How do we hold? I will continue to focus on, and hopefully that's the piece, because without self-reflection and accountability, you really can't go nowhere. Like the most important work for all of us, because I think the majority of us sitting around these tables have children, right? The most important work for all of us is the work that we do in the home.
Yeah.
Because when we're talking about Black Lives Matter, well, I have 5 children, so I gotta ensure that I treat those 5 Black lives like they matter every single day. And a lot of us as parents forget that. We want to go serve the community. We want to go be leaders. We want to go do this. We want to go do that. But then our homes are falling apart.
Preach, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Next in the control room, Carlinda.
Well, so one, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, which is focusing on youth engagement and community engagement. I've had a lot of calls and inboxes and conversations over the past week. And so one of the things that I do that I am going to put in place, like different issues was brought to my attention, right? So I'm going to put forth some solutions. One, accountability. I'm actually working on right now to put a system in place where we get together to sit down and then to be able to listen to us as the Black community of what we need to see change and how we need to be treated. That's first and foremost. Actually creating a soundboard, so I do have a space. So I'm going to have once a month where people can just come and vent as a community and say what it is that you want to get off your chest, whatever problems you have, and then collect it and record it so that we can actually find a solution.
And sister, can I push you, and you probably already are doing this, but I want to make it plain, because a lot of times people say we need to learn their culture.
Yes.
And I think other people need to learn our culture.
Yes.
And we have to know what our culture is, so that when we stand up together and we say we don't want to see certain things or experience one voice, but it doesn't mean we have to agree. But I'll tell you this, I know that there's been a lot of tension twice a day. And so thank you for that. I'm going to go to Betty Jean Grant, and I'm going to finish with you, Tanika. Oh, she left out. So, Tanika, I think I'm getting ready to finish with you. Now, let me tell you this. You gave me some good little sayings recently, like 1 + 1 equal 11 people and all that kind of stuff. I want to know, where do you feel we go?
Where we go from here is that this, in reference to this Mandela situation, I mean, there's enough information that shows that we don't have enough information. And as it pertains to the situation at Mandela's, we know that that is a citywide problem, and it's been going on for at least a decade that I'm aware. And where we go from here is that we see daily they were closing bars because they had so many calls, so many fights, but yet still these corner stores have lots of fights, they have lots of issues. We became aware that a man had to go to Rochester to get his eye socket repaired, yet the store in which it took place is still open. Why are we not closing down these stores? So we need a database. We need
agree about a database because information is power.
Right, we need a database to keep track of the problems that are arising in this store. I mean, we keep track of it for black-owned businesses. We'll shut them down after they've had so much police contact, so many infractions. So that would be extremely helpful. We also need to include certifying these stores, like when these people are coming here, and what is legal and what is not legal. At this point, I'm not sure if these store owners are even trained to understand what you can and cannot do when you catch someone stealing in your stores. But the fact that we have no way to keep track of that, because the police come and they don't take reports, we have no way to really gauge how in-depth and deep this problem is. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that and then we need to make sure that there is a system with very clear, there are so many infractions in your store, because the store goes from Muhammad to Muhammad Muhammad to Muhammad Muhammad Muhammad, and that's a problem. At some point in time, it needs to just be shut down, and we're not going to add any more Muhammads to the list. I mean, they would do that with black people. The time it opens, it's problematic. It turns to a grocery store.
So, Tanika, and what you're saying, I totally agree as far as the database, and I think about towns that have grades for different businesses, where you can walk in and you can see this is a grade A business because whatever, they don't have expired stuff, blah, 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 they're not price gouging, the rodent problems, anything like that, and complaints. And I think that effort would be one that is welcomed by some council members, because a lot of the stuff and the laws that we got passed here is not in Rochester and not in Syracuse. And I think because Buffalo needs to be unique. When I was on the council, Buffalo, and I think that working together, because I think all of us agree that if you're going to be in our community, we want you to respect our community. And there's other things like fresh, and I know it's hard, and I know I'm going in a tangent, but what I'm saying is I think working together works best. I'm coming to India. I've only got like 5 minutes. India, thanks for co-hosting. What you got?
I'll keep it brief. We have some once-in-a-generation opportunities ahead of us that we can get engaged in. So I'm going to continue to educate, because education is our equipment. We have to know how things work. So when you call your council member about something that's a county issue, they're not telling you, well, it's not my problem. The first time in 50 years that we're rewriting the laws that govern the city. Be involved, stay informed about what's going on. Join a committee of recycling every week and making it quarterly or whatever. If that's a concern to you, join a committee.
You said it's the first time in how long?
I might have said 50 years.
Yeah,
I think that's wrong.
Because I'm 60 and I was on the last one.
Okay.
So.
how many years is it? 26?
Yeah,
30?
somewhere. Yeah.
Something like that. The other thing is the Kensington Expressway project is starting over. This EIS process, you want to be involved. We're going to spend $1.5 billion. We're talking about economic drivers in this community. If we're not in it, ain't no way we can win it. You got to be at the table when decisions are being made. We cannot come later and after this is done and complain about not being considered. So if there's a meeting to be had at the Department of Transportation, come out, make your voice heard and be known. 12:30 talking more about the EIS process. You can follow me on social media. The name of my business is India Saves the World LLC. I'm also co-owner of Rose J Consulting. I do strategy, nonprofit leadership, and executive coaching. And I'm also the board chair of Corporation Buffalo, who has in the last decade extended more than $1 million in non-extractive capital to cooperatively owned businesses. So tap into some of the resources that are already available. This is an abundant community.
All right.
And we also, just to piggyback on that, we also lack information. So the brown bag is one thing, but we've heard several different tracks that we need to probably use as well, so people can get the information. Information is powerful, and I will do my best, because that's what I do, and that's what the green bag as well.
So here are some suggestions I want to leave with you, and I want to thank our guests who I am grateful that they took the time to come and to just share and to be in one room and two rooms. So I want to thank you, Cariel. I want to thank you, Miles. I want to thank you, Betty Jean Grant. I want to thank you, Katrina and Carlanda and India and Taniqua. Renato Grant wanted to come on, but I'm going to give him a show about housing. I want to suggest these things, that we need to focus on our shared community goals, because what I heard here today, I think we all want the same thing. We want a community, huh? Honey, I gotta go. Did I give you the last question? I gave you the first one. I'll give you three seconds, but I want it to be about fundamentals.
I just basically wanted us to come together as a community, because a lot of our community people look down on, and some people that are looked down on are very brilliant. You just have to give them a chance. I think we need to all come together in the room. And
thanks, Carol. I appreciate you. Focus on shared community goals. Identify areas of agreement first, so that before we go and what we don't agree, there's so much we agree on. Engage in respectful dialogue like has happened here today, and view differences as opportunities, because we don't have to agree on aim. Almost always are those who have different approaches, different thoughts, and then we come together. And I pledge for myself to each one of you in here and to those of you out in this community to take the platform and the places, these platforms are open to you, and to invite you all back, and those even who are not here, and then celebrate the contributions of others. You're a huge fighter, Cariel, and who have done so much to turn around and make our people feel protected. Miles, you are everywhere, and sometimes in the room, and your personality is so big, but now I've learned a little trying to just bring people together. And Taniqua, we know we know you roll alone, we got it, but you came in the room, and you came, and I appreciate that, and that's important to all of us. And Betty Jean Grant, I mean, you've just done so much for our community, and I know that sometimes people tell you to go on vacation. You go on vacation when you want to go on vacation. You go when you want to go on vacation. And of course, to Marnetta. And then finally, agree to disagree. Disagreeing is not a bad thing, and it doesn't make the other person the devil or the enemy. They just have an opinion. And one of the things that bring our disagreements together to do better. Listen to me, if you ready to work on law for these stores, or anybody else in here, you know I love law more than I loved anything when I was on the council. I love laws more than I loved anything doing legislation. Then let's get at it. And let's do it. Listen, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you to our Buffalo audience. Thank you to Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning, who sponsors this show, and also to Brian K. Lewis in your hour of need. Brian K. Lewis, 347 Peckham 25. And K. Lewis brought you this last hour, brought you the first hour, and Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning, 874 East Delavan. Until next week, power to the people.
Thank you. Great show.
Well, this is Donnie McClurkin. Listen to both of my radio shows, Gospel Gold and the Donnie McClurkin Show, every weekday morning from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m.